This is one of the most important films of the past 5 years. Seahawks versus the Patriots. Great Super
Boo.
Bowl. Dude, this is a great Super Bowl. The Patriots are going to get absolute ass to belt from the Seahawks. I don't know what to tell you. This is like the greatest thing in the history of football for me right now.
Two
No, not
teams
really.
that I could not care less about. I cared more about when the Eagles went up against the 49ers last year.
You mean the Chiefs? They didn't go up. The 49ers weren't
I
in
thought it
the
was
Super
I
Bowl
thought it was
last
the
year.
it was the Chiefs. Okay. Yeah,
No, it
when
was
the
the Chiefs.
Eagles went up against the Chiefs last year, I cared more about that just because I wanted the Eagles to win. I don't even follow professional football behind other than like somewhat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of where I grew up.
Yeah, that just goes to show how much you really follow football.
Yeah,
The
I didn't
the
even know who
the
actually fought in the Super Bowl other than the Eagles because the Eagles won.
the Seahawks are the most deserving team out of the entire NFL right now to win the Super Bowl. The Patriots also deserve it, but the Seahawks are just an all better unit, so
The
they've kind of
Patriots are
taken it.
my second favorite team to hate on,
That's
just
fine.
because they always go to the Super Bowl.
No,
They're
that
one
I
of those
mean, it's fine.
like I don't actually care. Like I really don't. But it is like I don't know. I was hoping the Ravens would go because they were really close, and I have some friends who are really big Ravens fans, so I thought that would be nice. They also haven't. When's the last time the Ravens even went to a Super Bowl, let alone one? It's been a few years.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I mean, no, it's I mean, it's it's valid. Um
it's a Super Bowl.
It no, a Super Bowl would have been the Broncos versus the Bears. That would have been a slaughter for the Broncos. I mean, there's no other way to say that. But we're not here to talk about the Super Bowl.
We're here to talk about
Obviously,
what I actually care about with the Super Bowl.
first off, before we get into any predictions for the real trailers, we obviously did get one trailer this week, that being Stranger Things Tales from 85.
hmm
Everybody was so excited to get that trailer.
I
I don't want the
Jeremy
show.
Jordan's in it.
That's great,
Jeremy
man.
Jordan's in it,
That's a good
and he's
Broadway
playing
actor.
Steve the Hair Harrington, which is like my question.
Why?
Yeah, why? Like, first of all, why make it? Second of all, why make it in between seasons? Third of all, why make it canon? Fourth of all, could you seriously not convince the cast that were only ever made popular thanks to Stranger Things to not reprise their roles for what I'm assuming is going to be a maybe 12 episode one off season?
Could
And
you
each
not
episode's going to be
convince
shorter than every episode of Stranger Things?
certain cast members to return for What If? Not all Marvel actors returned for What If. There a good portion of them did, but like Tom Holland didn't return for What If.
But what if
Obviously,
what if I feel differently about because it is what if it is like an offshoot of it, so you can make the excuse that they sound different even though they looked at like I don't care about that as much. This is a in canon version of these characters in a timeline that we know
I don't
by
necessarily see
different people.
that.
They don't even sound like their characters. Like I don't know about you, they their impressions are not phenomenal. That's just me maybe, but they really
Like,
didn't sound great.
to be fair, on the podcast or off the podcast, we've been talking for weeks about, we got so many shows coming up around this one time. Are there anything that we can skip? Is there anything that we can like, maybe not touch over or touch over at the very end? That show is at the top of my list right now, just because like I don't really
I
have a
just
care to watch it, and that's really funny because I was the one. You and I are one of the only people on Earth who aren't mad at the finale.
yeah,
Mid at worst, from my perspective, like it's mid at worst, but we're not mad at it. They
it's
still do
just
a lot right, but the show itself is not needed. It seems like this was an idea they had, and they're like, "Oh
it
man, we should
is.
have made that,"
That's
and
exactly what it is.
now we're
It
just
is
getting at the last
exactly
second.
it is something they wish that I would have incorporated into one of the seasons and weren't able to, so they're turning it into a spin-off show. But, like, the reason why I am so like, beyond just the casting, which is at the end of the day, it's whatever. They don't sound great to me, but they don't sound horrible. Like, they sound good as voice acting, but they're also not the Stranger Things kids we grew up with. And maybe that's the reason because they've all aged so much, and now we're throwing them back to an even younger era, and they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to sound younger. So since they're not trained voice actors, they don't know how to make their voices sound younger. So now they're casting actual kids who are roughly the ages. I mean, Jeremy Jordan is not in his 20s. No offense. I love Jeremy Jordan. He's not in his 20s.
No.
But I don't even know if Steve would have been in his 20s at the time of this series. He probably was in his teens still.
Well, to be
So,
fair, it is voice acting, and I'm going to use a prime example for this because I never realized it until I figured out who played it. But Yuri Lowenthal playing Peter Parker in the Spider-Man games is
oh, you
nowhere
didn't know
close.
that? Yeah.
Didn't no, he's nowhere close to the real age of Peter Parker, but he sounds so much like him.
I
You
mean,
know,
Yuri Lowenthal is one of the most talented voice actors out there. I mean, him, Troy Baker. Funny enough, Troy Baker's in one of the properties that we're talking about today.
yes,
But
yes. Um, actually, there's is the other person a voice actor? Sorry, that'll be a question for a later
we'll
moment.
move on for that. But yeah,
That
I
that
think
that, that just ADHD. It just came to me. I completely forgot to ask about that.
the other reason why I want to be more excited, because here's the thing, it looks great. I love the
Oh
animation
yeah,
style.
visually
I
it
think
looks
it
fun.
looks great. And I think the concept is very, very fun. I think it is going to be an enjoyable standalone show. I think my problem comes in when the Duffer brothers come in here and yap their mouths that they don't know how to shut, saying, oh, this is canon, because we already saw what happened when they made the Broadway show and it screwed up the canon, and the
Yeah.
Broadway show like doesn't do things that are supposed to, like, I don't trust the Duffer Brothers and their definition of canon. Again, I'm not
Yeah.
on as hard on things as everyone else is, but we can both admit that there are things that they say are canon that mess with each other from the final season and from other seasons, mainly thanks to the Broadway show. So, them saying that this is canon and it takes place in between seasons with monsters that we have no reference for, never see again, never hear about again,
Yeah.
it just doesn't, it
Yeah.
just make it a what if. Say that there's an
Never
alternate universe. Don't make I don't know. It's
never
so
discussed.
difficult.
It's never discussed in season 3, especially after season 2. Like it's never discussed during it. Like this isn't anything. Like this is just nothing. It's not talked about. It's never. I don't know. That's the issue. Maybe that's the issue again. It all goes back to like, why would you wait so long in between seasons to produce it? Because
Yeah.
in the case of season 5, and I'm only saying this because I got into a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday when I went out to Disney for a little bit, and we both were talking, and his concern was the fact that, hey, Stranger Things season 4 is really good. Yes, we had to wait 3 years in between season 3 to get season 4. It was really good. We get to season 5, and most of it is jack shit. Again, this is according to him.
According to him, yeah.
According to him, I'm not being, again, I'm not as down on it, but I'm also not as high on it either in the regards. Like I fully agree with the complaints that are there. I'm just not as low on it. We waited 3 years again, and we got that. What felt rushed, thrown together very sloppily at times, and some things that just outright and didn't outright for him outright pissed him off. The example he used was the Steve Dustin fight. He really hated that. Like he just thought
God, that's such a that that's such a naive point to pick. You could pick any other point, and
he
I
did.
might
That's the
agree
biggest
with
one he
you.
touched on because I
But the
fought him. I fought against him on
Steven
that one.
Dustin one, that makes so much. That is one of the best moments
It
from
wasn't
the final season.
it wasn't it wasn't the arc that they went on. It was how they actually performed it, which I didn't understand. He trying to explain that, and I didn't get it. I think sometimes he's just like he's a very
He doesn't know what he's
cynical
talking about.
he's a very cynical person at times.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
but
think that's just how I have to live with it. But anyway, all that roping it back together, like talking about these things, I'm not excited for the show. Like I
I
even posed it as a question. It was like, who's ready for the animated show? Not me. And
I just
I'm not looking forward to
comparison
watching it.
comparison is the thief of joy. Like, I know we compare things on the podcast all the time, but like I try to not compare things as best as possible. At the same time, though, comparing this to Stranger Things isn't comparing necessarily. Like, I am going to be sitting there and being like, this doesn't feel like Stranger Things. Like, I can
Yeah.
almost tell that I am gonna be comparing it not to like some random one-off show like that doesn't have anything to do with Stranger Things, but I'm gonna sit there and compare it to Stranger Things because the Duffer Brothers are telling me that this is comparable to Stranger Things. And I can
Yeah.
tell you, even if the quality is great, and again, the animation quality looks great, sounds great, voice actors don't sound like the kids, whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't trust what they're going to do with the story, which is a big part of making a show. Also, it's strange, and I'll end it with this. It's dropping on April 23rd. We don't know how many episodes we're getting, if they're dropping all at once or if they're dropping weekly. We
Yeah.
don't know. Like, there's a lot of information that we just straight up don't know about this show. And also, this, like, I, I don't know. I know we'll get it, but like, they dropped the first trailer, they dropped the posters, they dropped all this, and they
Yeah.
still won't tell us how many episodes
Yeah.
or if it's dropping all at once or not.
Well, and
We're
again,
not even that far away. It's February 7th as of recording this.
I mean,
So,
again, it is also the case of, oh, okay, we have this show, and then we have whatever spin-off show that they're concocting in their heads that has nothing to do with the original show,
I mean,
which
we already got the Nancy book that they made, so
I didn't read it. I'm not going to read it. I don't
yeah,
need to read
same.
that. It's not important to me. But whatever TV show they're concocting has nothing to do, but it's going to connect to the Upside Down. I don't like the direction they're kind of taking it in. I wish Stranger Things what just ended with Stranger Things. I wish it ended with the original show. It's the same excuse I had for The Walking Dead, except Walking Dead's very different from Stranger Things. Walking Dead fell off very quickly because it went on for way too long and it's still going. That's how bad it is. Now we got a bunch of spin-offs for that show that just left and right, which you're lucky I didn't make you watch that one. I don't care enough to watch the spin-off shows, so
Was
you're
gonna say
lucky
I'm
for
not watching 16 seasons of The Walking Dead and 13
ele-
different spin-offs.
11 seasons of The Walking Dead and like four other spin-offs. I mean, if you include the spin-offs like Fear the Walking Dead, which also have 6 seasons of their own, I mean, it's pretty extensive. But no, we're not talking about Stranger Things right now. Let's talk about some Super Bowl predictions for trailers. I read a report that Marvel was pulling their trailers at the last second for the Super Bowl ad.
That was what I was Yep, that's what I was
I
gonna
don't
start with.
It's a rumor, it's not confirmed. I
We're not getting a Doomsday trailer. We're not. They're
We'll get
not
a
doing a
oh
Doomsday
yeah,
trailer.
we'll get a brand new Dave trailer for sure. If we
That's
got
the
anything
one
for
that
Doomsday, it'll be the countdown. We're not like it wouldn't actually be a real trailer. It would just be like the countdown flashing off.
I think we might get a reminder of Doomsday. Maybe they'll replay a trailer that they already played in theaters, like the Cyclops trailer, which would probably be the most hype one for them to show on TV.
Yeah,
We
that or
might get
blending
that.
all
I
of them.
don't think we're gonna get anything net new.
No,
And Brand New Day,
brand new
it
day is
would be the
closer.
time. My only thing is that rumor on whether or not it's true. Like, if it's true, when are we gonna get a Brand New Day trailer? Like, Brand New Day comes out in a few months.
In
It is
July,
about the time
comes
that
out
you
on
would
my
wanna
birthday.
start a yeah, it's about the time you would wanna start the promotional cycle for Brand New Day.
I'm fully expecting a trailer for Brand New Day. Doomsday, I'm still on the fence on because if they do, it won't be any new footage except I would guess one shot of Doctor Doom. Because
Mhm.
they now again they already did say at some point they're going to release a full trailer, but like I said and predicted prior to the trailers coming out, the little mini teasers coming out or whatever the Russo brothers call it, what you haven't been watching is trailers, it's a puzzle piece, whatever. Shut up, Anthony Russo, I don't know. I would guess it's probably going to be all four of them stitched together in some way to make a semblance of like, okay, so this is the direction this film's going in, which we already kind of know. And then like the final bit is like Doctor Doom shot, so you finally see what Doom looks like. But like
No,
the
I don't think we're seeing what Doom looks like until way closer to the movie, if at
it
all.
it depends. I think I think it would at least build hype to see a mask or a shot of him in his cloak, similar to what we got for Fantastic Four. Um, I think I think it's just expected at some point. Um, I'm not expecting anything for Doomsday. It's like 70-30 for me though, as to like if they're gonna do it or not. Like
I think it's 30-70 to me for Doomsday. Like, I think
I
it's so much less likely, but
I think Doomsday is still more likely to happen. I think they're gonna focus on Brand New Day, though. I think hands
yeah.
down they're gonna focus on Brand New Day.
Do you
Uh,
think I think Odyssey will get a nod.
oh,
I think
no,
Odyssey will definitely get a nod.
Odyssey's getting a full trailer because we did we officially get a full trailer for
Mhm.
Odyssey?
Yeah.
Okay, it was technically the teaser trailer then. So then we're officially going to get the official trailer, which will be like I think it's
No,
like
no, no, we got an official full trailer.
no, I understand that, but they call it teaser trailers. Like the you have your like every Marvel movie has a two. You have your teaser trailer, then you have your official trailer. Teaser trailer still is the length of a full trailer. It's
No, no,
but
no, it was called the official Odyssey trailer.
I believe you. I'm looking this up because I'm gonna cry if I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was what was released in theaters, they eventually released. It wasn't the first 6 minutes, but not the first thing they released in theaters that I saw with the guy floating on the door. Like, they released an official full trailer for the Odyssey.
Okay, yeah, and it does say official trailer. We'll get an
Mhm.
official trailer too then. Regardless, we're getting another
I
trailer.
don't think we're gonna get an official well, when does the Odyssey come out?
J
That's
June.
okay, so then we might get an official trailer too.
I
We
was about
might.
to say June or July, we're getting a trailer. Like, there is no way we wouldn't. At the very least, they replay the one that we already saw, but I doubt they're gonna add new things for the Super Bowl. That's the thing. The Super Bowl is a big event. If your thing is at the Super Bowl, you're getting something new, regardless of how close or not it is. We're definitely getting a trailer for Grogu and Mandalorian. That
Oh,
is,
absolutely, absolutely.
we
You
are.
need to. You need
You
to.
got to start marketing that. You are 2 months away from that film, and I feel like we still know nothing about this movie at all. Uh,
Agreed.
we are definitely getting that property. Um, Project Hail Mary. I don't know how many trailers
Yeah,
we have, but I thought that that would be just a film on its own.
2, I believe. I believe we've gotten 2.
Scream. It's already confirmed we're getting a Scream 7 trailer. I think that already dropped, but they're gonna play it again at the Super Bowl. I haven't
I
watched
mean,
it.
to be fair, that movie comes out in 20 days, so that's not a huge surprise. It's one last big
No,
marketing push, so
but I knew we were gonna get that. As far as TV shows go, I don't think we're gonna get one for Daredevil because
no. Unless they
we
just replay the one that they've already dropped.
I was gonna say they just dropped the other trailer. And yeah, we had the Daredevil trailers last year drop like 2 weeks apart from each other. But that was also
Mhm.
when the show was like significantly closer like than
Yeah.
it is
Uh,
now. Oh, what that's what's the show called? The one that I started watching and I never finished, not because I hated it. Peaky Blinders. We're gonna get a Peaky Blinders movie trailer.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that I think
That's
that
yeah.
I think that's a definite, especially if Netflix is gonna chime in. That's the one they're gonna chime in with because I don't see them doing a Tales for 85 Stranger Things one. Please, for the love of God, do not do that.
I think they might do a little clip, maybe not a full trailer, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had a little clip in there just because it's Stranger Things.
Oh, Supergirl, because we did
Supergirl,
get
absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
we got that one trailer like last month or 2 months ago or something. So it would make
Mhm.
total sense if we got a Super Bowl at least spot for Supergirl.
Yeah,
Um,
the only one that I wish just because I wanna see it, but I know we're not gonna get it, is we're not getting a Dune trailer. I highly doubt it just because we're so far out, unless it's like a little teaser, because it would be our first glimpse. We've gotten nothing from Dune Messiah.
here's the thing, and this is why I all the you're putting timestamps on when things are coming out, and this is why I'm not like I'm 70-30 on Doomsday right now because we've had the reports that say maybe they're not going to or maybe they will, and again, it's just rumors, so we don't know if it's true or not. But Wicked Part 1, when that trailer came out, that came out at the Super Bowl, and then it released like 9 months later in the November slot. But it was the teaser trailer for Wicked, and it came out uh at the Super Bowl. I remember that specifically because I was surprised that they were even showing that trailer.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think of what did they show? Oh, last year they also showed uh Jurassic World.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the movies that are coming out this year, and it's difficult because there's a lot, and I feel like a lot of these could get short spots, like, maybe
Oh,
The Bride will get one, maybe Hoppers will get one. We already
Hopper's
talked
gonna get one as far as anime goes.
Super Mario Galaxy movie, I have a
We're not.
I
No, we're not
you
because
don't?
we just got that trailer like last week, so I don't think
What I'm saying
they
is
could
not
replay it.
necessarily new, but they might show it.
They could replay it and add like 1 or 2 new footage and call it a day. Again, when you're at the Super Bowl, you always add new footage. There's not a single trailer you release that is just the same thing unless it's
Yeah.
completely new.
I mean, you got
Um,
Mortal Kombat 2,
that's the one I was trying to think of,
Michael,
Mortal Kombat.
maybe?
Michael would just replay the one that came out literally like 3 days ago.
Mhm.
We wouldn't be getting any I'm assuming we're not getting anything new from Michael. We very well could
Well,
because
we
of how close
could
it is.
because it's a Steven Spielberg property and it's coming out relatively soon, we could get a Disclosure Day trailer.
Yeah.
Toy Story 5 is gonna get I have a high feeling that'll get its
Oh,
first full trailer at the Super Bowl, Toy Story 5.
Toy Story 5 is getting that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first one. I
Ooh,
actually
another one. A few actually. Man, there's too many because Minions 3
no.
could get a trailer.
I don't think Toy Story 5 would. Minions 3 is not going to get one. Minions 3
Uh,
will drop at a
Mo
random time.
Moana live action
When did
could.
that first trailer come out? Like a
Oh
month
god, I
ago,
don't
2 months
remember.
ago? Depending on what the timeline for that, yeah, that's reasonable. I could see a Moana trailer.
Those are the only movies that are coming out that soon that I think would be big enough.
Again, you're thinking about the soon part, and I'm literally still thinking about the fact that Wicked came out
But
9 to
Wicked
10
is
months.
also like huge. I'm looking at
Doomsday is huge. Dune is
I'm
huge.
only saying no to Doomsday because I just don't see them having anything net. I'm not saying they're not going to get a showing. I'm just saying we're not going to get anything new for them. If they do show up, it will not be new.
I'm not staking money on it. I'm fully willing to bet that we're getting something for Doomsday. Um, I
Dune,
don't know.
I could agree. Dune, I could see just with how big that is getting a trailer.
There
I'm not
there
putting
there
money
are
on it, but there's a high
there
chance.
are guarantees to get new things. Odyssey, we're gonna get something new. Toy Story 5, we're definitely getting something new. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Um, maybe even some films that are coming out like next week. We'll get like trailers that we've already had. Again, not
Well, that's
those.
why I'm saying things like Hoppers might get something because that's
Yeah,
coming out like really, really
Goat
soon.
Goat will probably get a spot because kids
Goat
want to
could,
watch the Super
yeah.
Bowl and it's a big sports movie. So I would imagine Goat would probably get one. Um, we'll get some for like coming out this week, but nothing like you
Nothing
know.
mind blowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think even Wuthering Heights will get a spot, which I don't
Oh,
like,
yeah.
but Wuthering Heights will
Oh,
get
yeah.
that.
You don't
But
like Wuthering Heights, but you don't realize Wuthering Heights is like the biggest romance of all time. It is going to be a blockbuster movie.
that's great. But do you know what else is big? This podcast that we're starting right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host this evening, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host.
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
And today we are talking two technically horror films. I don't know if one of them counts as horror or if it's
Technically is
thriller.
exactly the word that I would use for this.
Technically horror. Uh, Iron Lung, Markiplier's new movie, and 2025's Dracula. I don't know what you want to call it. Remake,
Oh, so it's
re-release.
technically
I don't know.
Dracula: A Love Tale is the actual title of the
Okay, that's
movie.
what I thought. Uh, obviously, we're gonna start off with Dracula because people want to hear Iron Lung more. I have my thoughts on Dracula though. Don't get me wrong. But before we get into that, big spoilers for everything we talk about. We, have been very neglectful to say that over the past few episodes of the podcast. Just going to make sure that we do it now.
Good,
Uh,
good.
Brandon, what's the word? Anything new?
uh, what is new? Not much. I mean, it's been a week. I'm tired as always. Don't sleep. I know you're tired too.
You can see my eye.
I got a game night today that I'm very excited for. So that's something to look forward to.
I don't know if you hear.
Um,
I've got a game night tomorrow. It's called the Super Bowl. We're gonna eat wings and watch the decimation of the Patriots. It's gonna be great.
oh,
Uh,
see, I don't care about football as we established already, but as long as the Patriots lose, I'm fine because they, yeah, because screw the Patriots.
this is gonna be the greatest day of my life. Uh, obviously, I have to defer and let you talk about it first. But
But
Brandon,
before we get into that, Carson, I have to ask you a question.
oh no.
What's your internet speed?
What's your internet speed, dummy? I'm not checking my internet speed.
Hey, I'm at 760 right now for my upload and 265 for download. So I'm just peachy.
Bro's trying to copy off my success with the internet speed bit. That's fantastic.
Success my ass. Your internet was dog shit, and we had to restart.
But it
To
was a
be fair,
success.
we had to do that today because of me, so
And I said today was
oops.
because of you. I've had no internet problems, like period. Like my internet's been crisp. Um, Brandon, go ahead and give me your thoughts on Dracula.
For some reason, I forgot that you said that we were doing Dracula first, so my mind I pulled out the folder for Iron Lung and started reading it in my head, and I'm like, "Put that back in. Let me
Nope.
open up
Hold.
the let
Hold,
me open up the
please.
Dracula one."
We'll do that. We'll do that later.
I know, I know. So I'm gonna preface this before I get into my actual thoughts. I am not very familiar with the Dracula story. I know the pop culture version of Dracula and vampires, and I've seen the whole Twilight series. I know that's not Dracula, but it's vampires. I know about vampires, but I don't really know Dracula's story from the original book and kind of like
Yeah.
I never saw Nosferatu, which I know Carson's upset about, but like this is not a story that I'm familiar with like at all. So this review is coming from the lens of someone who had literally zero expectations for this movie from a story perspective, from a cinematography. Like I had no idea what I was going in for. And all that to be said, I wanted to give that preface because Dracula is fantastic. I was captivated from start to finish. I think this is the most naturally flowing movie I've seen in a while. It from start to finish, I never felt bored. I never looked at my phone. I never wondered what was going to happen next. I just kind of sat back and enjoyed the movie. Like the acting was captivating, the sets were captivating, the story was amazing. Like I was devastated by it, but it was also beautiful at the same time. I think that there are some noticeable blemishes. I think the effects for the gargoyles look like they're a 2010s Disney movie, and I think that there is one scene in particular, and it's so hard because it's the only scene that took me out of the movie, and that was when they beheaded Maria. That scene, for whatever reason, was awful. The framing
Yeah.
was terrible. The acting was terrible from Maria. No offense. She did an amazing job for the rest of the movie, but their acting in that moment was awful. It was the only movie or the only scene in the movie that really took me out. I got right back into it after that, but I can't help but call that out. And then the only thing from a storytelling perspective that I wish we got more of was more of Elizabeth with like beforehand. Like we start out with the sex scene and that's like all we know about her until we skip over. I wish we would have set her up as a character a little bit more, but I don't think that was really that bad because I was still devastated at the end of the movie as events unfolded. Again, this movie just flowed so naturally. Like I'm just kind of sitting there enjoying the movie. I was never taken out of it other than the one scene. I was super happy with my experience overall. Everyone brought a great A game. Cinematography was very stylistic in a way that I appreciated. I don't always love stylistic cinematography. This felt natural for the story that they were telling. Right now, the kudos I can give this is it is my second favorite movie of the year. It almost beat out Bone Temple. I'm gonna be honest. It was very close to beating out Bone Temple and becoming my favorite movie of the year so far. I was just so captivated. I do think that the small blemishes on the movie do take it down just enough to knock it below Bone Temple, but not by a lot. Like again, I think that this is probably the movie I want to rewatch the most just because it felt good to watch. Like I just enjoyed my time so much more than I could have expected and kind of just left myself to the movie. And that was not an experience I was expecting out of this, but I'm very happy it's the experience that I got.
So everything that you said, I 100% completely agree with. If it was 2024 and if it was Nosferatu. Unfortunately, with a Dracula remake, you have had numerous films over the years. You have had so many remakes or readaptations of this book. I've never read the book. This is not something that I've ever read. I never really cared to read the books. I'm not that big of a fan of Dracula, so I don't know how accurate the lore is. And Nosferatu is slightly different from the book, but the story and the through line of the main plot of Dracula, from what I understand, is the exact same. Like, it doesn't
It's not.
really.
It is different. It's not
Well,
the same.
I'm getting to that because this film is Nosferatu reskinned on every conceptual level. It's not bad. It is certainly not a bad film, but for me, I think it's fine to okay. It's not something I'm going to rewatch again. Not because I wasn't captivated, not because I didn't think it was okay or that it wasn't good, but what Nosferatu did was this exact plot, pretty much the exact same types of characters with a few different added characters, better effects, all of it, with a much better thriller aspect, and take it up like 10 notches. And I know that sounds weird, but Nosferatu, I'm also hard on it because Nosferatu was my favorite film of 2024. This is also what I said going into the film I thought was going to happen. I did think it was going to be worse. I thought this film was going to be buns, like from start to finish. I thought I was going to hate it because of Nosferatu. I don't hate it because of Nosferatu. I'm disappointed by it because of Nosferatu. And I think it's also hard because these films did come out so close to each other. From an acting standpoint, this is really good. I shouldn't be playing the comparison, but Nosferatu's acting is up there. But it's
See,
also
that's your problem. That's your problem. Like, as I already said, comparison is the thief of joy. And that's why I did not watch Nosferatu before going into this as much as you wanted me to, because I wanted to look at this movie as the movie that it is, and you're allowing a different movie to corrupt your experience with what is a good movie. Like, you even admit it's a good movie. Your only problems with it is that you liked Nosferatu better, but don't allow that to make this movie worse. Like, that's not how this should work. It is a different movie. Yes, it's telling the same story, but that shouldn't matter. It is a different movie, different actors giving a different interpretation.
I don't know what to say. You just jumped right in there.
I
Are
didn't
we
want to
going?
cut you off, but it's kind of like, I'm sorry. Like, it's, if all your thoughts on this movie are comparing it to Nosferatu,
No,
then like,
not all of it. I I'm starting off by comparing it to Nosferatu, and then I'm going into more of my bigger problems. But they're not necessarily comparing it to Nosferatu. I'm getting that out of the way first, so I can separate it. All I'm saying, I'll make it as simple as possible if you really don't want to hear me talk about it. And I'm no, now I'm forcing you to watch it at some point this week. Even though, no, never mind. At some point next week, because we have a lot of things to watch this upcoming week. Never
don't
mind.
remind me.
I will give you I will give you more time to watch Nosferatu. I'm telling you right now that comparisons to Thief of Joy, whatever. I would much rather watch Nosferatu on any given day over this movie. There are other things. Whereas I said the performances are good, sometimes they use characters in very weird times. I love Christoph Waltz. He is the most popular actor in this film. He's also the only one that I actually know, really, other than the guy who plays Dracula, because he was in First Class for a few scenes or whatever. Um, Christoph Waltz is one of my favorite actors, working today. Django Unchained, Inglorious Bastards. I mean, this guy won Oscars for for playing a Nazi and then playing the kindest guy ever during the slave era. I mean, he's genius, and his character is utilized very poorly here. It's okay. Like, he comes in and he does his job, but like it doesn't do anything for me, nor does it move me. This film, where I do think that this film does strive the most, and this is like the best thing I will give this film, is it is different from any other adaptation of Dracula I have seen, because instead of focusing on the human characters like a Christoph Waltz and more villainizing them, it focuses more on Dracula. Its primary character is Dracula. That's who the perspective of the story is being told from. That's why when you're in the beginning and he loses the love of his life, he eventually becomes Dracula, the person that you know who we're technically supposed to hate because of who he is. It turns the story on its head and turns into kind of the best comparison, like, to explain it, is like the Hawk Girl Hawkman story from like Legends of Tomorrow / The Flash, where it's like, hey, I still love you, please try to remember who I am. And it kind of turns it on its head to be more sympathetic. That is the biggest thing I give this film, because that's where it drew me in at, because it was different. It tried something different. It's not like any other Dracula film I'd ever seen before. Is it my favorite topic? No, I think I still prefer the the perspective of the humans, because Dracula is a scary monster. And I get that they were doing something different with it, so I whatever, it's fine. But I still prefer the human aspect of it. But I do like that they tried to humanize Dracula more in this film than they ever did. But again, it's at the sacrifice of the human characters. Christoph Waltz does come off more as a villain, but also at the same time, they're not trying to portray him as a villain because it's like a weird blend. He's in the movie, he's a good actor. It's just nowhere close to my favorite performance from him. And he also could have been written better too. Uh, but the relationship that Dracula and what's her name? I'm blanking on her name.
Which
Uh
one, Elizabeth or Maria?
Elizabeth, thank you. The relationship that he
I
and
don't think it's
Elizabeth
technically pronounced as Elizabeth, it's like Elizabetha or something, but
something
yeah.
I don't something
Yeah,
German
it's
or whatever.
Elisabetta or something.
Um Elizabeth, I don't know. We're just gonna call her Elizabeth just to make it simple for my brain. The relationship they share is a very interesting one. Again a concept that I wasn't expected to actually kind of enjoy about this film, and overall, like from a cinematography perspective, again, I'm not trying to compare, but even though it's not exactly as good as something that I've already seen, like almost 1 year ago, it's still really good and it's unique for a style that this director kind of brought to the table. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna stop kind of talking about it for now because we can just go into the back and forth because my thoughts are pretty clear. I think it's okay. It's not anything special. It's not something I'm going to watch again, but it's certainly far from bad. Like there are much worse films, Tron Ares, that have released over the years. Um, but yeah, it's fine. Good movie, good time. Nothing special. I will not recommend it to everybody.
I mean, again, this is where it is interesting to have such differing opinions on it because, like, again, I think I definitely can understand that my experience was definitely slash probably enhanced by not knowing like this is my
Nothing.
Dracula telling.
Right.
Like,
This is something, yeah, exactly.
I I only knew that this was a romance because I saw a glimpse of a trailer when waiting to watch a different movie. Like that's all I knew. I knew basically nothing else about this story. And yes, that could enhance, but I think even like again, like I'll get my complaints out of the way and a little bit more fleshed out. Like yeah, the golems or the gargoyles, they
Yeah,
looked like
let's start with that. Yeah,
2010.
when
They
there's
looked like
CGI,
2010 CGI.
when there's CGI, it is buns. Like it is genuinely just the worst. And the gargoyles got the worst of it. And what pisses me off is that at the end the ending had a really cool idea. This is one thing I do hate about the ending. It's the fact that it kind of turns into a big fight scene at the end when all I really want is like that last scene when we have the priest Christoph Waltz and we have Dracula both in this room. They're basically confronting each other, whatever, all of it. That's really what I wanted. Instead, I got a massive fight scene that I didn't want or care about.
See, I didn't hate it because I felt like it made because like
I guess it made
again,
sense for this iteration.
for the story again, for the story that we're telling here, I think it's such an interesting thing playing on my preconceived notions of Dracula.
Yeah.
To me, Dracula again, I knew the pop culture adaptations of it where he was the bad guy. I want to suck your blood. Other than like the Hotel Transylvania version of him, which is like a dad.
We don't talk about that version. That's not
Andy
that's not
Samberg
Dracula.
is the best Dracula. No. Um, but I think from a going into this, I was expecting a horror thriller. Dracula is the bad guy, and this kind of flips my expectations on their head and makes him a great fleshed out redeemable character that you feel really bad for
Yeah,
because
it's different.
it made sense that people like this is one of the things that again, and I meant to mention this like in my things. One of the things that I liked about the movie is when I walked away, I had no questions left to ask. It was a
Yeah.
very complete movie. It only gives you the information that you need and nothing else. It doesn't feel bloated, which maybe some people wanted more information. Like, but to me, I got what I needed out of it. The only thing is that I'll say on that front is like again, rework that first scene, give me a little bit of a different perspective on Elizabeth, not just the
Yeah,
sex scene. Maybe show
yeah.
her in a garden with Dracula or something. I would have preferred that a little bit just to give her a little bit more of a character, but I
Show us
didn't
their
hate
relationship
it.
forming. Like, maybe that's what you should have done instead of just
I don't
showing
need
the
I don't
relationship
need their
as
relationship forming. Like, I don't need the full origin story of everything.
maybe the wedding.
Granted, this
I don't
is a
know.
Dracula origin story, but
I'm just saying that if you're gonna show the most intimate moment, it's hard to go from, "Oh, we've seen the build. This is really nice to see." They're just thrusting us into this with that no rhyme, no reason to care about these characters beyond the film just saying, "Hey, these 2 are in love. You should really appreciate these characters because 'cause they're in love." It doesn't really give you much of a reason. So just rework it a little bit to where you can actually kind of build to it. Okay, you don't have to see their relationship forming, but show like an everyday life thing. Maybe they're talk I don't know. It's a stupid idea.
no, no,
Maybe
no.
they're
I agree with you. That's where it's like, yeah, if we could have gotten half of the length of the sex scene and throw a dinner date or a garden scene or something to give her a little bit more personality, I would have
yes.
preferred that. But from a
Yeah.
storytelling perspective, that was the only thing because going back to the original thing we were talking about with the final battle, I didn't mind it because one, it's epic, it adds tension, yes, but it also helps to further that it's not just the priest who views Dracula as a villain. They have their reasons to view him as a villain because he's an affront to God. He like that's the explanation we get. One, he's turning other people into vampires, which they don't like, but also the only reason why they don't like Dracula isn't because he's a terrible person. It's because he's a affront to God. And they're all
Yeah.
religious and they believe in God, and so for them to all show up and try and save the girl, like, I didn't hate it. Like, to me, I was like,
No, no, and that happens too. Like that's not it's the fact that it does turn into a big fight scene at the end. Again, it's the fact that we have it, going back to the main point, it's the fact we have the CGI gargoyle fight, which we didn't need. We could have just
yeah,
had Dracula coming in and slicing some people, and I would have been content with that. Or it doesn't have to be everybody too. You also didn't have to be a fight scene. It could just been literally a search for the girl. Meanwhile, Christoph Waltz happens to find Dracula first, confronts him, and that's our movie. That's it. Hooray, we're done. Huzzah. It didn't have to be the cannons going, the gargoyles attacking the humans, which looked
well,
very
okay,
poor.
I'm gonna counter you with this because I actually I realized something as we were talking that I'm curious to see if you probably won't rethink your thoughts, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think the reason the battle was necessary is because of the final moment, and it's the reason why Dracula gives up. Because the line that we have from our priest friend is something along the lines of like your presence will always put her in danger. As long as you exist, she's not going to be fulfilled. You are the thing that's hurting her. That's the whole reason he turns is because he realizes that. And he only realizes that because there's the big battle with cannons going off and people coming to attack her. If you only had 1 to 2 people going after, it doesn't hammer that point home enough in the sense of, oh, she's in danger and it's because of Dracula, because everyone hates Dracula because he's an affront to God. All of that stuff makes sense. So you kind of have to have it be a big battle to show Dracula that this is going to be their life. Everyone is going to hate him because he's an affront to God. They're always going to be sought after and attacked. And so for it to be a big battle versus just 2 people is the thing that hammers home to Dracula with the cannons going off and blowing up. That's why when we're having that dialogue, we cut to the cannons going off and Elizabeth being in danger because that's what helps Dracula realize, oh, you're right. If I give up now, she'll be safer than if we just went on the run together and we get chased and every castle we go to gets attacked and we can never live a normal life together.
I mean, I guess. Again, again, this is also a different perspective film. Like, and I'm not comparing. I'm just telling the story this time. Nosferatu is told from the perspective of the human characters. More specifically, it's told from the perspective of the guy who is engaged in your perspective, who is engaged to Elizabeth. That's who it's told from. For
Okay.
them, it's told from that perspective, and then from the Elizabeth character herself. But that script also flips it on its head. It's not portraying Dracula as a good person. He is the evil monster that he says he is, and it's again that's why it's a more from the human approach. Um, this film again has a completely different ending, as far as I know, from most Dracula stories, which is he gives up, but it's for the thing of love, and it's for all this. So it's all different, and I think this is where I kind of stand. I appreciate the difference because it does say that they tried and they tried to do something different and they tried to step out and do something uncomfortable, and it's gonna get butts and seats because it is different. But when I look back at the films that I've seen for Dracula, or if I just look back at this film, it's not something I'm going to particularly remember all that much. Again, it's different for you because this is your first iteration of anything Dracula. And I'm not comparing it to Dracula at this point. I'm just looking at it from a film perspective. This is really a film I'm not going to remember in due time because in a year from now, when we are ranking films or we are talking about our top 10, there are going to be some films I look back, I go, oh, yeah, I did see that this year. I guarantee you this is going to be one of those films that I'm going to be, oh, yeah, that did come out this year.
I mean, I'm not saying that this is gonna stay on my top 5. I mean, it being number 2 is cool, but also we've seen 5 net new movies this year. At least I've seen 5 net new 2025 movies. Because 'cause we're not talking about it on the podcast, but I did watch Mercy. Better
Yes.
than the critics said. I align more with the audience perspective, but that will never come out because we're in I told Carson he probably wouldn't enjoy it, so we're not talking about it on the podcast. But I've seen like 5 net new movies, and it's the second best out of those. Is it going to stay? I mean, I don't even know if Bone Temple's going to end up still being in my top 10 come the end of the year. As of now, though, being my Dracula story that I was introduced to, not introduced to the concept of Dracula, but introduced to his direct story other than a cartoony version or a pop culture version. I thought it was beautiful and tragic. And I think it's also like
Yeah.
I am a romance guy. I love romance stories. I love tragic romance stories. And that is exactly what this is. It is a tragic romance. So like one of my favorite scenes that just felt so tragic. It wasn't when he gave her the music box. That was a great scene.
That was no, that was actually good. That was actually one of the
That
good
was a
best
great
scenes.
scene. My favorite scene was when they're going around the carnival and he has to stay a little bit back, and it's
Yeah.
because he knows. And that's one thing I really appreciate is he is on top of things. Like he is a little bit much at times trying to be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you are mine," but he also understands like he goes in knowing that she's not going to remember him off the bat. So he
Yeah.
has to take a step back, but you can see the pain in those
Yeah.
actions. He's very stiff and he's very hurt by
Yes.
all of this because he is participating. But like for instance, when he's holding the gun with her, like you can see in his performance the pain he feels of knowing that this is what he wants, but he can't have it right now. And I think all of that works so well. I think though the most tragic character in the entire movie is Elizabeth's fiance, because this man, as a lawyer, goes to Dracula's home. He meets Dracula, gets kidnapped, almost dies, has to throw himself out a window to find his fiance that turns out is the long lost lover of the guy who kidnapped him. And he goes back expecting to be loved, has to help kill the dude that she loves, and now loses his fiance. I'm not saying Dracula's story isn't tragic, but like that dude did nothing wrong. He didn't deserve this. Poor
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's just the story of that character throughout it's always tragedy with that character. And here, I will say his character definitely could have used more fleshing. Here's, oh my god, I'm so weirded out by it because it's the perspective of Dracula, but I also don't know if that even works in my mind
because
because I don't get fleshed out other characters other than a
you don't.
few of them.
Here's the thing. Again, you're comparing it to Nosferatu, whether you realize it or not, which is a different perspective where you do get the fleshed out of the characters because those are the characters that matter. In this story, you get flashed out of the characters that matter, which is Dracula. This isn't the human perspective of the stories. Remember, this is the Dracula perspective of the story. So we
Yeah.
flesh. I actually appreciate, again, when I talk about that this movie wasn't bloated, I
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
that they didn't waste our time fleshing out the characters that played their role necessary for this story. I
Yeah.
didn't need a flashback of why the priest was fighting vampires. I didn't need a flashback of his mom getting turned into a vampire and oh no, this is why he convert. Like, I didn't need any of that, and we didn't get it. I didn't want to flesh out those characters. I wanted to focus on Dracula and Maria and
Yeah.
Elizabeth and the characters that mattered, the vampire perspective, which was clearly the story that we were telling here. Now,
Yeah. Again,
another thing, or
hold
I'll let you go because my point
yeah,
goes off on a tangent. But
because I thought about this like 7 minutes ago, and I finally figured out the best way from my perspective to compare what this movie is for me. And I don't know if this is gonna piss you off when I say it, but it's very true, especially because it is more of a romance. And I think the other point I'm trying to drive home is, and this is why I was iffy on saying thriller. This film doesn't feel like a thriller. I don't feel really any of the horror aspects of it. I see the gory aspects of it, but there's nothing tense. It is, like you said, more of a romance. So that being
well,
said,
because
I'm
again, it's Dracula, a love tale.
right. So that being said, I'm now renaming this film from Dracula: A Love Tale to Hallmark Dracula. Because it does feel
Wow,
like
that
that
does
at
piss me
times.
off.
It pisses
But
you off,
like
but it
I,
is true.
again, and I think that may be another thing, maybe not even past the comparison with Nosferatu, is like you didn't go in expecting a romance necessarily. Like, I don't know, I don't want to speak for
No,
you.
no, 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 no. I didn't, because that's not in my mind, in every iteration of Dracula, that's not Dracula. And I'm also, again, I'm trying to say that the romance aspect is different, and I'm okay with that because it is different. That, again, that is where this movie gets the positive props for me, and that's why I'm saying it's at least worth watching once,
Well, and
because of the fact that it does try something different, even if it's not going to be something that sticks in everybody's mind for long, if you know what
I
I
think
mean.
one of the things that may actually they so while I was watching the movie, this is one thing that I did think about at the beginning of the movie and then kind of didn't think about again until after the movie. No, 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 no. It's good that I didn't think about it again because it
Okay.
actually worked really well. And it's you reminded me of it, so I'm going to bring it up because it's in context. You mentioned you don't feel the thriller elements, you don't feel like certain things. One of the ways that I think they do that very well actually is they don't, so this is a rated R movie.
Yeah.
95% of this movie could have been PG-13.
Yes. Completely agree.
But but I actually like that. So in the beginning, they have a scene where they're holding all the heads on spikes. That was pretty graphic. That was definitely on the more mature side of things. It is to hammer home these characters, the war that they're in, why it's so devastating, like the whole like killing people in the name of God thing. Like, that scene was necessary to be that way with them holding the heads on spikes. Then we skip over, and every time Dracula drinks blood, it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, it's gushing everywhere because it doesn't need to. Again, it's telling you and it's showing you that this isn't about the thriller horror elements of Dracula.
Yes.
It is the romance aspects.
The
So if
tragedy.
they correct,
Yes.
if they made it overly gory and they made it overly horror, it detracts from Dracula, a love tale. So they didn't need to be overly gory and overly horror and overly thriller. But
Yes.
then there's one scene in particular that was like shock your pants off, really gory compared to everything else. And unfortunately, it is the weaker scene of the movie for me, not because of the gore, just because why did she have to Naruto run into the camera?
Yeah.
That wasn't necessary. But
Yeah.
the reason that is the scene that is the most gory, or up until that point, is because it is necessary for the travesty of losing Maria, who isn't a bad person. Maria is a
Yeah.
character that is, in my opinion, good. Like, yes, she drinks the blood of the one dude, but that's also just because that's what she needs to live. Like, she's just a girl that got turned into a vampire, trying to live her life, be happy, and go on a journey and have friends. And
Yeah.
then, unfortunately, from the human perspective, she is an affront to God. So we have to behead her. And it is overly gory and it is very shocking because her death is shocking. You're like, I love this
Yeah.
person. Like, that human that just killed her is the bad guy. And it hammers home that point with the gore and with that. And then we don't really see much gore again until towards the end. Even the final fight scene with Dracula isn't overly gory because it doesn't need to be. That's not the focus of it. So I think
No.
it used the rated R very well in the sense of not being like it used it in a way that made it clear what you're supposed to focus on. You're not supposed to focus on the gore or the like travesty or the thriller elements. You're
Correct.
supposed to focus on the love. But then when something steps in and gets in the way of the love, that's when you get really gory.
Yeah, and also, I will say this, because you did touch on it, this film could have been PG-13. I still agree with that. That being said, I think it's really hard to do Dracula not rated R in any capacity, purely
Oh yeah.
because of the fact that when you bite an egg, you're supposed to see blood, and the whole reason films usually are rated R is because of gore. I don't think you can get away with it in a Dracula movie, even if it's, like, a minor amount. Like, let's say your entire movie is squeaky clean except for when he bites necks or something. You can't really help it because you're gonna have a close-up shot or it's just not gonna you get what I mean. I
Yeah,
think
well,
this movie was
because
always gonna be rated R even if it can be PG-13. Like, truthfully, if, my 13-year-old son wanted to watch this film, this would honestly be one of the films I could probably be okay with him watching. Yes, it's bad at times, but this is a PG-13 movie with an R stamp on it because they don't have a choice because of the story they're telling. It's just hard for them to escape it because of the character of Dracula. That's just who it is.
yeah, because
Um,
again, like in that him sucking blood and having the blood on his face again leans into the elements where he even talks about like I don't like human blood.
right. I
Like
don't
that's not
like
something I
this. I do it
enjoy
because I
doing.
need to live. Right.
Exactly. It's something he's doing out of necessity. So when you have the crazed look on his face, his blood's dripping down his face, like that is to hammer home the travesty of what he's forced to do.
Right.
So the gore in this movie is used very well to hammer home when you're supposed to feel travesty and uncomfortable and
Yeah.
like squirm in your seat versus what the actual focus of the movie is, which is a love tale.
Um, yeah. I will say it does have some ridiculous moments though, and one of them was early on, and it threw me out, and I immediately sat there and went, "You can't do that. That's not how physics works." And that's when, for whatever reason, this prince who loves his girl, granted, I don't think he would have thought about it in the moment. So maybe it's not, and maybe I'm just thinking about that part. He throws his sword and it goes so far through the guy so perfectly that it kills the girl. Here's the thing: if you throw a sword at somebody, maybe if you're really lucky, you might do that. I don't think this guy is that lucky to throw his sword from what is at least 10 to 20 feet away. A heavy sword, mind you, and for it to perfectly go into that spot on his back. That's one of those ridiculous moments where it's like, okay, I'm along for the ride. I just gotta
I
let
was
it
gonna
be.
say, I'd like to remind you that vampires aren't real, Carson. Whoa, imagine.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is vampires. I just got to be taken for the ride, even though that is incredibly silly and very stupid, and in realistic fashion would not ever be a thing. But then again,
Like for me, I was like, I knew that they were gonna kill her, obviously
oh
because
yeah,
of the one trailer that I saw. But for that to be the way, like I was shocked. And I think the reason why I didn't have a problem with the scene is because here's the thing. Yes, the physics of it might not make sense, but it does actually add to the travesty of her death because he's the one who killed her. Like it's never really like explicitly stated, but I think that's one of the reasons that influences his grief and how like horrible he feels about this is because he is solely responsible. Like he blames God the entire movie. Like that's why he's turned into a vampire is because he forsakes God. He blames God,
yeah,
but in reality, he's the only one to blame. Like
right,
yes, his wife was put in danger and like that wasn't his fault. Well, it is, but it isn't at the same time. But he's the
correct,
one who kills her. Like he's the
correct,
reason definitively that she's dead because he decided to throw the sword instead of doing anything else. It was a
correct.
knee jerk emotional reaction to try and do what he
Yeah,
could. And I do feel like you can kind of feel that. Even though it's never explicitly stated, I feel like that is one of the reasons, and it kind of influences how bad and how tragic he feels about her death because a little part of him holds himself responsible for as much as he blames God. And I think, again, the full circle moment of him coming to realize that he's the one who's putting her in danger this whole time also has to do with that moment at the beginning.
Yeah, and again, very, very different performance from any Dracula I've ever seen. Again, I never watched the original classic, like, 30s Dracula. That's, like, the one which I know surprising. I never saw that. I actually
Mhm.
barely know what that one's about. Uh, my friend has told me for years to watch it. I just never have had an interest or a care enough to watch it. Maybe I will one day. Um, this is a very different performance from any Dracula ever because again, it's the sympathetic Dracula. And this is the last thing I'll say about all of this, but the performance from him makes this entire movie. If he didn't care about any of it, this film would be so much lower than it already is for me. And again, also saying like it's a lower, like this film's fine. Like there is on paper virtually nothing wrong with this film. And again, I know you say comparison's the thief of joy, but I'm sorry, this isn't my first rodeo with Dracula. I've seen different variations of Dracula. This is one of my least favorite interpretations of Dracula. Though I'm okay with what they did because this is different. This is unique. This has never been done before. And the fact that they had the balls to even try it makes me happy. I actually want more films like this. Even if it isn't my favorite, I want more like this because it's something different. It flips the script on its head. It turns and changes everything of what you were expecting. And that's why I even enjoyed this to begin with, is because I didn't know what to expect based off of the fact that, okay, yeah, I know this story. They're hitting all the beats of the story that I know, but they're going about it from a different perspective that I never thought about before, or at least from a perspective that I wasn't expecting them to take it. Again, it also comes back to I didn't see the trailer. Had I seen the trailer, I probably from the very beginning could have said, "Oh wait, this is a romance movie." I would have had a completely different look at this film. Um, but when you look at it from the perspective of a Dracula story or a Dracula film, it is different. And if you're going into this expecting a horror film, I don't really think you're going to get that. No, let me scratch that. You're not going to get that. This isn't a horror film. This is a Hallmark romance love movie. Okay, nicely written, not again, nothing special. It just happens to have Dracula in it. So if you're going in expecting that, you're going to get exactly what you want. Otherwise, I can't say this enough. If you're wanting a Dracula movie, go watch
Dracula Love
Nosferatu.
Tale.
Go watch Nosferatu. Like I'm genuinely being serious.
I don't know. I don't wanna harp on you too much for it. I just, like, I love this movie, I really did. I had a fantastic time with it. I feel like it is such a concise 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 9 minutes. Again, I personally never felt bored. There was only the
No,
one scene that took me out of the movie. I think it's very well written. I feel like they say so much without having to say it personally. I feel like you care about the things you're supposed to care about. You get the perspective of Dracula, so you don't need to get into everything else, and they don't waste your time with anything else. Like, that is exactly what like, I got exactly out of this movie what the movie wanted me to get out of it, and I
yeah,
think that I can't say that about every movie that I see, and so for me to be able to say that about Dracula: A Love Tale, I'm very satisfied with my experience. Like,
of all the
and
films,
again, maybe this is coming from someone who loves romance. Like I am a romance guy. I
yeah,
am so excited for Wuthering Heights. Like I know Carson is dreading it. That's a very anticipated movie for me. I've never read the books, but like I love romance, so I'm very excited to get into romance stories. So that definitely enhanced my experience of this. But I don't know, like, if you're looking for a non-horror version of Dracula that focuses on the love, I think that this is the best representation we're probably going to get of that story. If you're
yeah,
looking to be a horror junkie, and again, I've said I like romance. I also don't like horror all that much. Like I'm getting used to horror. Like I don't love horror. So the fact that this wasn't a horror movie like I was kind of expecting it to be also was really appreciated as a guy who doesn't want to shit his pants every 30 seconds in a movie theater. So I think if you agree, like if your opinions align more with me and you're wanting more of a romance that happens to be tragic with Dracula in it, with some of the thriller horror elements, it's exactly what you're going to get out of this movie. And I highly recommend it. If you want to shit your pants every 5 minutes for no reason, go watch something else. But that's for you to determine.
yeah. Um, Speaking of thrillers, because this one definitely is a thriller.
I was gonna say this, like we made the joke at the beginning about like horror, non-horror. This one definitely like, especially when you
This is a
compare it to
thriller.
Dracula. This is a thriller. This is definitely a thriller. It's definitely a
I
thriller horror movie.
I would still say it's not jump scare horror. It is definitely like this is through and through a thriller. Like it has the scary imagery that you would get in a thriller, but there's not really any jump scares necessarily. This isn't Send Help. Uh
Yeah, but it's also
let's
not supposed to be send help. So
let's I know you're very excited about this. I'm also I'll admit on the podcast, this was not a film I expected to do well. Not that I was rooting against it. It's just not one that I expected to do well, even with all the reviews that had come out. I was very skeptical about it because of
better opening weekend than send help.
because of who was directing it. Um,
I will say before we get into the movie, I wasn't gonna bring this up, but because you brought it up,
I might
have
as
you
well.
seen all the drama surrounding the Iron Lung box office?
No, I've been staying away from it. I figured I could touch on that at another point. I've been trying to stay away from it, but I heard something about
So
like
let's
it got
start.
removed from the box office or something. Yeah.
So before we get into the movie, because I was going to cover this at the end, but since we brought it up now, we might as well cover it before we get into our thoughts. Since it's just box office obviously doesn't influence whether or not we enjoyed the movie or not. Um, so Markiplier made this movie, obviously. It is a completely self-funded, self-made
Yeah.
movie. And the only reason it is in as many theaters as it is in is because of how loyal Markiplier's fan base is. Like, I can agree with that. Like, yes, this is an indie film that was never supposed to be in thousands of theaters across the world.
Yes.
And Markiplier's fans are the ones that pushed it there. But with it being in theaters, it should be treated as a movie with a box office with the respect that it deserves. And it was originally not on any of the box office charts. And then it started to do really well. And it actually, just opening weekend, outperformed. It had a better opening weekend by like a few $1 million than Send Help, a Sam Raimi movie. I'm not talking to the quality of the movies, I'm just talking from a financial perspective. It did better. After that weekend, the movie has another full week in theaters. You cannot find this on the box office charts. It is
Yeah.
nowhere to be seen. The only number you can find for this movie is the opening weekend number in those first 3 or 4 days. If you go to boxofficemojo.com, which is like the number one place for box offices, it has no Thursday, no Friday. It has nothing since then. So we do not know the total box office number for this movie. Again, I'm not saying it matters, but I do feel like that is really like a shitty ass move from whoever is making these charts and these numbers, because like are they just like pissed off that a self-made movie from a YouTuber is doing that well? Like, I don't know. It just like, it's stupid. It kind of pissed me off a little bit on behalf of Markiplier, where it's like, this is an indie film, but all these cinephiles love to praise movies at the Oscars that fucking no one has ever heard of and only they have seen. And yet, an indie film by a YouTuber comes out because it's not in the normal Hollywood cycle, and it feels like they're discounting the movie. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what that feels like to me.
I don't know what it feels like. I haven't looked into any of this yet, and I honestly probably wasn't going to, just because at the end of the day, it's going to get resolved, and this is going to be forgotten about very quickly. Um, I mean, you already kind of gave it away, but go ahead, give me your thoughts for Iron Lung.
I didn't give anything away. I already said, like, the box office has nothing to do with whether or not I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
But I'll give another preface to this. I know you want to hear my thoughts, but I am going to give this preface as well. I am a casual Markiplier fan. I grew up watching some of Markiplier's videos. I feel like as much as your average kid who was chronically online growing up watching Markiplier, I didn't watch all of his videos. I never heard of Iron Lung before this movie. Like, I never watched his playthrough of it. I was not familiar with the concept going in. I know this is technically, not even technically, this is a video game adaptation of an indie game, Iron Lung, and I was not familiar with any of that going in. And I'm kind of glad that I wasn't familiar with it going in, because I have now since watched the playthroughs of it, and it is very different. Very similar, but also very different. And I'll get into that as we go into our back and forth. But judging Iron Lung based off of Iron Lung, it was really good. Like, from a cinematography perspective, from an acting perspective, from a set piece perspective, from a story perspective, it felt like an indie movie. I will say that. Like it was I went in expecting an indie movie and I got indie movie quality. I was surprised at moments by some of the things that were going on. Like the CGI was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be for a movie that only cost $3 million. Markiplier being really the only actor in this movie and has dipped his toes in acting before. He had a YouTube exclusive TV show and he's done like one other thing, but he did a really good job, and I didn't feel taken out of the movie with it being Markiplier. That was one of my fears going into the movie, is I wasn't going to be able to separate the fact that this is Markiplier from the character in the movie. I didn't experience that problem at all, and again, maybe that's just because I'm more of a casual Markiplier fan, and I'm not, like, familiar, like, as in the grain, and it just didn't take me out of it as much. I think the story was strong. It is hard to follow at times, but I actually enjoyed that. I didn't feel like I needed an insane, well fleshed out story, but at the same time, it was if you paid attention to it, which can be a negative for some people, and it probably will be for a lot. But for me, it didn't really take me out of it. It was pretty scary at times because I didn't wasn't familiar with this going in. I was like on edge, and I think some of that is also there is some pacing issues in the movie. It is a little over 2 hours, and it is kind of dragging at points in a way that I don't think they should have cut any time from the movie, because I feel like they needed to be this long. I think that they could have better utilized the time that they had, though, in certain moments, because there's a lot of tension buildup, but there's also a lot of times that are supposed to be tension buildup that don't feel as tension building as they're supposed to be. And that definitely was like a knock. It takes a little while to get it, like, you don't know what this movie is going to be for the first, like, at least 30 to 45 minutes of the movie. And I know that I've already heard some people talk about how that's a negative. I really didn't take that as a negative, but it was one of those moments where I realized what this was going to be, that I was like, oh, okay, now I'm locked in. So it took a second to get locked in, but then once I was locked in, I was locked in. And then when the movie ended and we're getting this thrilling, like, balls to the walls ending that was a pretty tragic ending, I was super enthralled. I was super attached to Markiplier's character. And I think this is a really good first attempt for a indie movie produced by one guy. And I know there was a whole team behind this, but this is Markiplier's movie. He put a bunch of money into it. He acted in it. I think that this is not going to be in my top 10 favorite movies of the year at the end of the year, but going into this expecting an indie movie made by a YouTuber, this is probably one of the better YouTuber made movies that have come out, and I'm really impressed by that, and I don't feel like I wasted my time or anything like that. For as many flaws as we'll get into as we go into our back and forth, that I do feel like this movie has.
Yeah, this
Uh,
isn't look, this isn't a perfect film. This isn't gonna be regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. However, this is important. This is one of the most important films of the past 5 years, and that's because, say what you will, I do still believe that some of the money that this film made was, yes, off of the back of Markiplier and just having his name. That's just how it is. You can't really avoid that. That's just
mhm.
how it is.
Yeah, I agree.
But this film is actually good. This is an indie film. And this is important because indie films are very rarely successful and very rarely made nowadays. Whereas it's hard, it's not like Reservoir Dogs, it's not like Quentin Tarantino, where Tarantino had no name, no recognition, no nothing. He made this film from scratch without nothing, and that film still did well. Obviously, again, this having the name of Markiplier attached to it, I don't know who Markiplier is. I don't care who Markiplier is. Guy means nothing to me. This Iron Lung thing that he adapted meant nothing to me because I don't know who any of this is. I went into this film because Brandon really wanted to put it on the schedule. That's why I went and saw this film. And I walked out of this going, this is one of the most important films of the past 5 years, not because of the film that it is. The film itself is still okay. It's not bad. It's good. It's definitely worth watching. But it's important because of the fact that Markiplier stepped out and said, "Hey, all major studio corporations, screw you. here's a film that can actually be pretty good if you let the director, writers, whoever make it. If you can let whoever put this film into, like, whoever wants to make a film, just make it without getting your greedy little money grubbing hands on the director. You get what I mean. And he made this on his own. And for the most part, this film is mostly practical. There's very little CGI. There's one scene of actual CGI. Everything else is completely practical. And that's what I appreciate about this film. Funny enough, similar to Reservoir Dogs, this film is in one independent location almost the entire time. And it's solely Markiplier, which, let's talk about that first. My God, just a great performance. And that was not, when I saw he was in the movie, I went, okay, so he's a bit character. He'll be there for a bit and he'll leave. No, he's the main character. He's not leaving. Oh, and then he starts actually getting into certain scenes and certain this and whatever. And I agree with you about how this film's biggest problem is it drags. However, I don't agree with you about they just needed to do this the time didn't need to be shortened. No, I do. This film needed to be an hour, 30 minutes long. It overstays its welcome way too much. I get they're trying to have suspense and build the mystery and this and that, and there's certain aspects you got to keep. Great. You got to just get through them because you're taking way too long to get to your point. And it's not pulling me fully out of the film, but it did at one point or two have me looking at my watch of like, this film's not over yet. How much more do we got? All that to say, it is my God, what a depressing ending to a film that I was not expecting. First off, again, I already said it. Markiplier does give a good performance, but it really is towards the latter half of the movie that it's like kicked into full high gear, and it's raw emotion, and it's actually really interesting. Again, it's not like Oscar award winning acting, but it's serviceable for what you're trying to do. Again, because his character is really the only one that matters, it's the only character that you're actually kind of caring about. That was one thing that I personally wish they would have done better in the concept for the film was, hey, let's flesh out his character. Like, you can throughout the movie learn more about this character, and that's actually the storytelling I prefer. But so you got to give us a little something more to fully care about this character, because at first he's just a scavenger in this river of blood or this ocean of blood. Okay, can I get a little something? Start off with the fact that he's a convict or something. I don't know. Anything to give me any sort of emotion towards this. Also, I didn't know the lore of this, so I assumed this was like an alien planet. I didn't know if this was like a post-apocalyptic world where the ocean just turned to blood or something. I don't know. I didn't know any of this going into it. So as I'm slowly learning out, I'm like, okay, so it is an alien planet. Okay, so this isn't real. Like, I had to figure out so much going along that like sometimes it was hard to keep up. The film, from at least from a perspective like myself, where I know nothing about anything, you could have just given me a little bit more just to kind of help get me there. But again, overall, as a packaged product, as a, I guess technically a directorial debut, but as something that clearly was a passion project, this is something that, again, I keep driving the word home. It's important. This isn't something to just be dismissed. This is important because of the fact that it is something that Markiplier could have gone to any studio, and maybe he did, and there are studios who shut him out because they didn't want to make the film. And he made a film that's actually pretty decent. Again, it's not bad. By no means is this a bad film. If it's not your favorite, that's fine. It's not my favorite film of all time, but it's, again, very, very well done and it's handled with care to the point to where it's like, okay, yeah, like
I think another thing that is really like I'm not going to use the word important for saying this, but like very good about this is Markiplier's already talked about how he wants to make other movies after this, and I think that's fantastic because I've also seen well, not interviews, but like Markiplier talking about how he's very well aware of where the shortcomings of this movie are,
yeah,
and the fact that he is aware of those gives me so much faith in the next Markiplier project to be even better. Like this being his debut movie. Like he made a YouTube exclusive TV show that was produced and made by YouTube for the most
sure,
part. Now he is producing, acting, directing, writing this movie. For this
yeah,
to be his first debut into this, again, it's not perfect, but it's impressive for being his first debut into it. So if this is his debut and he only can go up from here, fingers crossed, I hope he makes more movies and we get to talk about more Markiplier movies on here and other YouTuber movies. Because, like, again, this is an important movie, but it's also not the first YouTuber movie ever made. The first YouTuber movie ever made, to my knowledge, and you probably don't even know what these are the Fred movies. Fred was a child YouTuber from a decade and a half ago at this point who made some kind of shitty, kind of funny kids movies about his character that he plays in his YouTube videos. And they made like freaking 3 of those or something like that, or maybe even more. Those are technically the first YouTuber movies, but we're starting to see slowly more and more. I mean, Shelby Oaks, I think that was how it was pronounced,
Stuck.
came out last
That's Stuck.
year.
Yeah, it's Stuckman's film. Yeah,
Yeah, Stuckman's film. He comes from a different side of YouTube. He is a YouTube movie reviewer who
correct.
made this movie. Markiplier is a video game content creator who made this movie. And I never even saw Shelby Oaks, but I would assume it's probably better. So that, at
I
least
didn't
based
get a
on
chance to see it. I
reviews,
wanted to,
but
but I never saw it. Uh, it's
what?
actually it's split for I just because I looked it up out of curiosity. It's split it's the exact same score basically for both critics and audiences. You have 100 you have 100 okay, granted a lot of the audience members didn't see it, so it really just depends, but that's also again the difference between critics and audience scores. You have 55% for critics, so it's just slightly above
Are we
average.
talking Iron Lung or Shelby Oaks?
Shelby Oaks. And then
Okay.
you have 54 for audience. So it's about the same thing. Which is actually kind of funny. No, but like I think again, when I think about first time directors, again, I look at Scorsese, I look at Tarantino, Spielberg for all I care. Their films are memorable and they're good, but by far they are not the best films that they have done in the filmography. Even though I love Reservoir Dogs, it is one of my favorite Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
I love a lot of films that Spielberg did in his early days, but they may not necessarily. Jaws, never mind. Jaws is probably still my favorite. I love Jaws so much.
I was gonna say
God.
Jaws is. I'm not the biggest Jaws defender, just because again, it's not like my type of movie. But like from a movie perspective, it is a very good movie.
Jaws was originally when we started this podcast in like my top 5 of all time, and I think I put that there because I just recently watched it. And I forgot how good it is. I don't know if that actually is true, but
but
I love Jaws. Point
it,
being, no director gets it right on the first try 100% of the time.
well,
You
and
have
again,
to learn over the process.
yeah, we're comparing a YouTuber, a video game YouTuber, to movie directors. And the fact that we're even having that conversation just shows how impressive this
Correct.
debut is. So
Correct.
let's talk about the actual movie now. Got all of our other stuff out of the way. I think that where do you want to start? Because I know that, do you want to start with some of your negatives? I know you said the pacing was off. You already kind of touched on that.
I mean,
I think,
yeah, scenes just went on for too long. If you want to, let's start with that. I think there's
yeah,
just a ton of scenes that just went on for a little bit too long. Like, I love the scene when he's talking to the person over the radio, or not the radio, the speaker, and the idea is that, oh, there's another survivor down here. He's ship connected to that person's ship, and they're talking to it. I, from the get go, pretty much put it together like there's no surviving ship down here. That's like that is the alien communicating with them. Whatever. I knew that's what it was from the get go. Not that that diminished my experience, but that scene went on for like 10 minutes. 5 minutes. You could have made it 5 minutes. You still would have gotten your point across, and it would have made sense.
so
My God.
Here's my thing. I'm going to pose this question to you. You're calling it the alien right off the bat.
Yeah.
Is it though?
I
Because
don't
a
know.
whole big plot line with this movie, and I think that's one of the things that is I really appreciated about the movie, is a lot of the storytelling is very implied. There's not a lot of heavy-handed storytelling.
Sure.
The movie doesn't hold your hand at all. So they never explicitly say, like, oh, he's getting radiation poisoning. You get the one comment about it being an X-ray in the beginning, and then you kind of have to, then you have the manual scene where he looks in the manual and it says something about radiation, but we flip past that really quickly. So he's been dying of radiation poisoning the entire movie.
Yeah.
Is there actually a monster there? Is there something coming after them? Is this just him dying and going crazy, locked in an iron lung of radiation poisoning? And I love that the movie doesn't directly answer that.
I'm gonna just say that it is because they don't directly answer it. But if you're trying to get to the best, I think option, it's that. And then if you just want to like meander and think about it, sure, whatever. But if you're wanting like the quick cut story, just assume that it is. Assume that it is real. I do believe that there's a creature down there. I
Well, and that's
because from the very first scene going on, where you basically know that there's something down there. So
and I think
I'm fully willing to admit that.
yeah, I think that's one of the other things that is I didn't think about this when watching the movie. I heard someone else mention this, but when they said it, I was like, "Oh shit, that's actually kind of crazy to like that to be definitely a thing that was considered in this movie."
Yeah.
So, we're going down and taking photos,
Yeah.
and we see this pile of bones on the
Correct.
ground, and it's moving, and it goes away. That that was never a pile of bones. This is an
No.
X-ray. That was a
Yeah.
monster. Like that wasn't just a pile of bones. The reason it moved is because it wasn't a normal camera. It was an X-ray, and that was a creature at the bottom of that blood. And I never thought about that in the entire course of the movie. And then thinking about that afterwards, I was like, oh shit, that's kind of funny, but also kind of like a damn, okay.
Like,
Like
bro, that I'm so sorry, but that's so dumb. Like, you're so stupid
for what, not realizing that?
for not realizing. Like, like here's the you would think the corporation he's working for would at least tell him, "Hey,
Nope.
this is an X-ray machine," and he could have put two and two together. Nope, nope, he's not thinking
But
about that.
here's the thing, he's a criminal. They don't
Right.
wanna give him information. Like, there's a clear reason why they don't give him information. He's
Correct.
just supposed to go down there, do his job, not ask any questions. They
Right.
are reserved from the beginning that he is going to die, and
Right.
that's all they care about. And I think that's one of the other tragic things about the movie is, like, the second you think he gets an out, and this lady who he's been talking to on the speaker, like, not the monster one, but the actual real one, is giving him her name and finally caring about him after he has that emotional breakdown, realizing that that was never and ever going to happen and that she lied the entire time just because she knew that was necessary to manipulate him into doing what she needed, and they were always going to kill him, but they give you that little bit of hope and you think that, oh, maybe she's going to do the right thing and maybe she's redeemed, but in fact she never gave a shit. It was like, you're right, it is a very tragic, like, when he ripped his arm off, dude, I was like, fuck. I literally sat there in the theater and went, fuck. Like, I knew the second they revealed that he had radiation poisoning, I knew he was going to die. But
Yeah.
watching him go down the way that he did and giving his life for the cause and finally coming, like, it was just, oh my God, dude. Like, I definitely think the strongest aspect of this movie is the ending, easily. Like, it ends
Yeah.
very, very
From
well. Like,
from
very well.
and strange enough, it's not my favorite scene, but it's just a moment that like really caught my eye, and like I was definitely into it at that point. Is he's giving the speech of like, frick you, frick this place. If you want my life, come and get me. And he's just like fully into it. He's
Hmm.
ramming this thing against. Is he? So okay, that's the thing I'm always confused about. Is the monster hunting him in the movie, or is he actively inside the monster and he's trying to like? You know what I mean?
So
I never
that
fully
is
understood.
something that I don't think is really fully explained. And even with watching the playthrough afterwards, because I'm gonna let's get into this now. I have now watched Markiplier play Iron Lung. I was debating on whether or not I was going to or not. I'm glad I did because it didn't like detract from the movie whatsoever. I was afraid that maybe it would, but it didn't. Um, the monster is not in the game. It isn't. It is literally a single jump scare at the end of the game that is the monster. The monster is like not a thing throughout the entirety of the video game. That is like entirely added as a concept and a like horror aspect to this game, to the movie. And
Okay.
so I don't know if that's really like, I think that he is like, because it is explained that he's at the bottom and it's coagulated blood and it's all these tunnels made out of coagulated blood. I don't think he's inside the monster, but I don't think the monster is necessarily like hunting him in the sense of like it's a game to him or like he wants to eat him. I do think it's just kind of like a, oh, there's this weird object that he rammed into. Like, again, it's mentioned that it is a skeleton. he rammed into the monster, like the living version of the monster.
He ran into because there's no skeleton. Like
And so that is when the monster starts attacking him, is after he rams into it for the most part.
because for all we know, maybe it's just a peaceful creature that only attacked to defend itself. You don't
Exactly.
actually
And
know.
and I think that's another thing that after realizing that they knew this was an X-ray the whole time, is this lady is convincing this guy that he's just ramming a bone statue and they need the sample of bones. She is well aware that he is ramming into a real ass monster that he is going to really piss off.
Yeah,
And it sucks for
yeah, it
him.
well, it's because I at the end of the day, I do think they want the sample. I do think they want the
Oh yeah,
monster.
absolutely.
Either they want the monster dead. Maybe that's the sole mission. And technically, at the end of the day, he does accomplish that goal. I don't know what does he blow up the pod with the monster eating it, and he just blows it up.
I think that is kind of what is implied, is that like when he goes down, it blows up the pod with the monster and that like takes it down. But
That's what I'm saying. Is like if that was their goal from the beginning. Again, that's the other thing. This movie's never clear on what the goal is from this company, which I guess is fine. It's not the objective of the film,
it
but
isn't, it isn't.
you
And I
kind of need
think
it a little
it's
bit.
so with the lore of the movie, humanity has been mostly wiped out. Most of the stars in the galaxy are gone. And
Correct.
so there's a few remaining space stations that are out floating, trying to find the last hope for humanity. They are one of those conglomerations of space, like spaceships or whatever. But there is
Right.
another one that Markiplier's character is from, called Eden, that has the last tree on it, and that's like the main development of society, is this last space station. And they are revolutionaries that believe that the world is never going to come back and it's all doom and gloom essentially. And so they blow up a big portion of that space station, killing a ton of people. Markiplier is kind of involved in it because of his friends that he thought was his friends
Sure.
and all of that. And
Sure.
the goal of this mission is to go out and find somewhere for them to live.
Right.
And they think that there is something that they can find out about either so, and this is where it's, they want to find somewhere to live, but at the same time they also want to find out what happened, because, and this was a very like thrown off line that you might have not even caught, the blood that is making up this world is all human blood.
Yes.
It is all real human blood. And it is never stated either in the game or in the movie, but it is heavily implied that it is the blood of the people that lost their lives when the world went to shit. So a
Yeah.
part of this mission is trying to figure out what happened. Why
Yeah.
is all the people's blood on this? It could also, and this was never like implied, but it could be this was Earth. And this is just a dilapidated post-apocalyptic version of Earth that just is become a pool of everyone's blood. Again, this is never stated. This is me coming up with theories, but that is clearly the mission, is they want to find out what happened and find out if they can habitate a world again. And if this is old Earth, that would make sense as to why they picked a planet that seems like it's not somewhere you would want to live.
Again, it all goes back to the idea that we don't know really anything about this plot, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because it leaves you with almost too many questions that are just like, okay, sure. Solely the reason you watch this film is for the journey that Simon is his character, Simon.
Simon, correct, yes.
You see Simon go on. That's truly the only reason why.
So
Because you don't care. You can't care because they don't give you enough information to know about the world building of like why the world is the way it is, what the mission, what the actual mission is. It's solely, hey, you want to see this man survive what he's going through. That's purely it.
so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This was marketed and like is a Lovecraftian horror movie. That is
Okay.
what the concept is.
Okay.
Have you seen any other, like, is this the general style like of a Lovecraftian movie?
I need you to
Like,
give me an example of love. Actually, here, let me just look it up.
I was gonna say, I've never seen, like, I know like Cthulhu is a Lovecraftian monster or something like that. The reason why I ask is like yes, this is a very specific type of thriller movie that doesn't give you a bunch of information and is more focused on the weird, wacky, supernatural elements of it. Is that the typical style of a Lovecraftian story?
I'm trying to think here because yeah, Cthulhu I remember, but I've only ever seen Cthulhu in like South Park, so I don't think that that really counts.
I don't think that's an accurate representation of Cthulhu there, buddy.
Okay, okay. Here are some examples that have come up. Um, let's see here. The Thing from 1982, which I have seen, is apparently
Okay.
Lovecraftian. Annihilation, which came out in 2018, I've also seen, is a Lovecraftian horror. Lovecraftian horror continues to influence monster. Okay, it's literature things exploring themes of cosmic dread, the unknown, the fragility of human sanity. Okay, so it's like it's dealing. I don't know if it technically. So it's like
I mean, that is
it
a big core plot of this movie. That it very much is what this movie is.
Alien. I would say kind of falls into that category. I don't know if The Mist falls into that category. Let me actually. I'm just hold on. Is The Mist movie Lovecraft
I don't even know what the
horror?
Mist movie is.
Basically, it's about a strange mist that comes through and engulfs. It's based off of a book. Yes, okay, it is Lovecraftian. So yes,
Okay.
I'm sure if I thought more off the top of my head, yes. And based on what the description is, yes, this is very Lovecraftian. It's the
Mhm.
unknown. You don't know really what's happening.
Well, and I think going back to one of the like original comments that we were talking about with like the pacing and stuff like that, I think the reason why I don't necessarily think that this movie needed to and could it have shaved off some time? Yes. I think the reason why I think they could have maybe better utilized the time that they had was to build up some of that dread earlier on. Like
Sure.
it takes a little while to get in and realize what's going on, and then he starts to lose his mind, and then we get like the one scene with him seeing something behind him, and then the tape as well. That was pretty horrifying with the tape falling off, because here's the thing,
Sure.
that was just the tape falling off. There was nothing there, but he thinks that there might be something there ripping the tape off, and that is
Right.
pretty suspenseful. I needed a little bit more of that sprinkled throughout some of those moments where like we're kind of taking our time and we're exploring the world. I wish they would have had a little bit more of the like him losing his mind throughout that. And maybe that goes back to they could have just cut it and they had enough of it. And I only feel like that because I'd rather them like at least utilize the time that they had. But like him losing his mind was definitely the most interesting thing. It just felt like he's not losing his mind. He's not losing his mind. Boom, he's lost his mind a little bit. And if
Yeah.
they could have utilized some of that time they already had to build up to him losing his mind a little bit more, maybe it would have been like again, I'm not complaining about it. I think the ending of this movie is the strongest part of this movie, but just a little bit more of him losing his mind building up to that.
Sure. Yeah. I think that from the psychological aspect, it makes sense. Yeah. Now we're looking at it from the other perspective of was the creature ever really there? Was it just him going insane? If we're looking at it from that perspective, yeah, this film definitely is just it's incredible. It does a great job setting that up. It does a great job building to that. Um,
Yeah,
sorry, I
because
zoned out 'cause I pulled up the cast for The Mist because I was curious about that.
oh my god.
I forgot that
Bro,
this
we're talking
movie
about Iron Lung.
I yeah, now I'm stuck on Lovecraftian horror. Thanks a lot.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
but yeah, I think that okay, I also want to touch on this. This is like an important one. The practicality of this film, except for the one scene whenever you have the gigantic eye that's like looking at him and he's like
Well,
in
it's the
CGI.
eye and the ship blowing up at the end. Those are like the really only two majorly CGI moments.
Everything else is practical.
Mhm.
And I think it's clear where probably 1 million worth of effects probably went into the budget. And it was that. Because again, Markiplier probably didn't pay himself for acting in this film. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. The only thing I saw from Markiplier is he said he was going to give his crew like big bonuses because of how well this movie did, is what I heard. Is like he
Yeah.
literally came out and says, "Oh no,
Which is
everybody
how
didn't
it
get
should
it."
work,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
that's a knock on Hollywood, not on
Knock on Hollywood. Thanks, Markiplier, for reminding us that Hollywood sucks.
correct.
Thank you, Markiplier. Um, but like I was even looking at some of the behind the scenes stuff because it just happened to come across on my Instagram because I don't know why, but it like just behind the scenes stuff of it and how it's like all one actual like ship that it moves so that he can throw himself into specific positions and the camera's just at an angle so it looks like whatever. I don't know. It looks really cool and it's very convincing. It's very similar to like what they did with in Nolan's Inception in the big hallway fight scene where you had the constant turning hallway and you had Gordon Levitt actually walking around this thing that is just actively rotating. It's really cool to see that and see it done, especially with Markiplier clearly taking some sort of inspiration from that to apply it here. It just makes it feel more real, more natural. Um, I
Another
I I I
thing
appreciate that at least. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
another thing is I think I might have mentioned this to you off the podcast offhandedly, but I don't know if you remember. This movie broke a world record when making it. It
Yeah.
broke the world record for the largest use of fake blood in any
Yes.
production ever. Because that scene where he's swimming through the pool of blood and
That's not
all the scenes where
CGI.
the ship
That's
is filling up with blood, all of that is Markiplier actually being filled with fake blood. And I think that is like most other movies just going to CGI it. You're just
yeah.
going to pay someone to bring it into effects, but it adds to those moments because you feel like Markiplier is drowning in the blood and you feel
Yes.
the dread of the blood coming up because yeah, he very much could drown in the blood. Like it is real blood that he is being draped in. Like obviously it's not like human blood or even animal blood. It's corn syrup probably, but still
Sure.
it is an actual viscous liquid that he is being
It
surrounded
is
with.
it is a bathtub of blood that he is basically swimming in. What is going on outside? All of a sudden, I hear sirens going off.
But yeah, the bathtub of blood, like I feel like really helped that it was practical.
Well, it adds to tension. Like, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, it just doesn't work whenever it's CGI. I will say this, I don't know if it was CGI or if it was real. It always looked real to me, and I felt like they did, but when Jessica Chastain in It Chapter 2 is in the bathroom stall, and it starts filling up with blood, I'm pretty sure before, Ben comes to save her, or she comes to save Ben, and she opens up the stall and whatnot, I'm pretty sure that's all real blood. I don't think
Mhm.
that that's, like, CGI. I think it is all practical because she's
I would
actually
assume
drowning in
so
it.
because it looks pretty practical. There's
At
obviously
the very least, some
CGI
of it is.
elements of it
Right,
after he
right.
comes, but
But at least the part where she's, like, swimming it, I'm pretty sure is real. It just adds tension to it, and I even remember watching It Chapter 2 going, "Wow, this is really unique." Practical is always better than CGI, and
oh
that
yeah.
just proves it, especially in that regard.
Well, like even
Um,
when he rips his own arm off, like that arm is practical. Like all of that
no,
felt
Markiplier ripped off his real arm for the movie, he just never revealed it till now.
oh my god, no.
It's
But like
huge.
obviously there was touch up with CGI and he probably wore like a green sleeve to show that his arm was cut, like something along those lines. But like in a regular movie that was made in Hollywood, they just would have fully CGI'd it and it probably wouldn't have felt as impactful. Like it when you use real effects in a movie, it adds to the grit. That's why like horror movies need to be practical. They have to be. That was one of my problems with talking about it chapter 2. They had way too much CGI in the movie and took me out of a lot of the horror moments because it didn't feel real. This movie is 99% practical and it adds to the grit. So, like, obviously, I know Markiplier probably did some of it for budgetary reasons because CGI is way more expensive, but I appreciate that he did stick to his guns on using practical effects because you can feel it. Like, you can feel the effect of the practical effects in the movie.
Correct. And again, I think that there is a truthfully, I do think that there is a very, specific line that this movie does toll, especially when it comes to, uh like, how much they wanna give away to you. Like, I know we're touching over on that again. There's only so much you can really touch over this film because whereas it is a 2-hour film, it's all super simple, and it's all very one-noted as far as, like, story straightforwards go. Like, man on pod, man trying to escape creature while in the pod, man
Yeah.
is fighting creature while in the like, it's very simple, and like, it doesn't cut away to do anything else. That's your movie. That's it, and I appreciate that. But we didn't necessarily talk about it, and I asked this question earlier, I just didn't know. Troy Baker wasn't the only voice actor, right? Like there was another. Wasn't the other person a voice
Yeah,
actor?
well, so Jacksepticeye is in this movie. He's not a voice actor. He's actually another YouTuber. Don't know if you've ever heard of Jacksepticeye before.
I know who he is. Never seen him.
Did you play Dispatch?
No.
I told you to play Dispatch, damn it. He's also in Dispatch. But Jacksepticeye is another super famous YouTuber who came up with Markiplier. He
Okay.
plays the guy that got radiation burns through the window. That was Jacksepticeye. Troy Baker, I believe, is the dude that comes over the speaker. I
Yes.
believe that's who Troy Baker is.
It
In
sounds like
terms
Troy
of
Baker.
yeah, in terms of other like voice actors, I don't think that there were any other like noticeable like they are voice actors in the
Like the only other
industry.
person you see in the film is the girl. Is she a voice actor? I
That
didn't know.
is Caroline Kaplan.
I
And she is an actual actor. She's not a
okay.
voice actor. She's like an actual actor. She's an indie actor. I can name some of her projects: Pound for Pound, Bad Men Must Bleed, Peeping Todd, 1923, The Ego Death of Queen Celia,
Yeah.
Man Goes on Rant.
Yeah.
So like nothing I've ever heard of, but like she is an indie
Nothing
movie
really. Okay.
actor. Or wait, no,
Okay.
I'm looking at the wrong person.
Brother.
I was talking about Holt Boggs. That's my bad.
Bruh.
Um Carolyn Kaplan has been in FBI's Most Wanted, Pieces of Me, The Plot Against America, Divorce, Orange is the New Black, NCI New Orleans. Um, that's the woman that we see. So
Okay,
she is an
gotcha.
actor.
Okay. I didn't know. That's why I was curious.
No, you're good.
But look at the end of the day, I don't know why I put my mic closer. I guess I don't know. I'm just I don't know. I'm getting restless. Um I don't really have much to say about this film beyond please go see this in theaters or please
Yeah.
watch this
Well,
film.
unfortunately, I don't think you can see it in theaters anymore. It only got a week in theaters, which like sucks, but also isn't surprising because there is going to be a huge wave of people. I would not be surprised though if Markiplier releases this movie on YouTube
Oh,
for
sure.
free or per paid later on because he's already
Sure.
made. I mean, this movie cost him $3 million to make, and just in the opening weekend, he made $27 million or something like that.
Yeah.
He's made
Yeah.
more than enough off of this movie. One thing I do want
Yeah.
to say though,
Go ahead.
um,
Yes.
I'm curious your thoughts on this. Actually, I'm very glad that I thought of this because it was a very big thing for this movie for me that I want to know your thoughts on
Okay.
the audio mixing. I think that there was
Oh.
some really so. I think that you have to see this movie in theaters for the sole fact that like you need a surround sound audio system to really appreciate this because like there were literally times in the theater where I was like, is there someone whispering behind me or is that the audio of the movie? And I feel like that's necessary for it and it's to build up tension and all of that.
Yes.
But I also don't like that the audio mixing made me think that it was someone whispering behind me and didn't actually feel like something in the movie. And that's kind of a problem in a few different times in the movie where it's really hard to hear the actual person talking and it doesn't feel like they did it on purpose. It just feels like a messy audio mix. And when a lot of the movie is talking over a speaker and whispering voices around you and stuff like that, it did kind of like hurt some of the moments that it didn't feel like it was supposed to be. Like there are definitely moments in the movie where you're not supposed to understand what they're saying and it's supposed to be garbled, but there are also
Yeah.
moments that didn't feel like they were
Yeah.
supposed to be like that and were anyway. I'm curious if you had the same experience or what your thoughts are on that.
No, I actually really like the audio mixing for the exact same reason that you just said. It was
Okay.
confusing, but it added the layer of tension that I feel like the film needed. I don't know what it's gonna sound like at home. I maybe it'll sound horrible at home because you don't have the theater experience, but I think it was intentional with how I don't think it was an accident. I think it was intentional how they did it. Because how long was this film in development?
So I think it was about 2 ish because the his playthrough of the game was only 3 years ago, and then he started I think about 6 months to a year after. So it about maybe two and a half, three
Yeah,
years
I
at
think
most.
then the audio is intentional because there's no way that this film took more than At least 30 days to film. You could look that up if you want to know for sure. There's no
I'm
way it
gonna
took that
Google it
long to
while you
film,
talk.
meaning it was in development to get the CGI and the audio mixing. It was clearly intentional, and I think it paid off very, very well because it added the eeriness and the unsettlingness of each intention and scene just very, very well.
On February 16th, he joked. Oh, so that's what started it. Da, 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 da. In an interview in Variety on March 8th, he confirmed that he was directing and writing. On May 7th, he confirmed that he would be in it. On April 21st, 2023, that was the official announcement that he was making it.
Okay.
So the movie was officially announced in 2023, April
Okay.
21st.
So close to 3 years
Um,
ago. Very close to 3 years
so
ago.
they announced it 3 years ago, and then pre-production began. Oh, so it was announced in April, but it was actually began pre-production in February, and then it began so it took, I'm doing math in my head, 3 months to film. It
Yeah.
started filming on March 7th, and ended on May 1st. But to be fair, this
Of
isn't like
2020, hold
they're
on, of 23 or 24?
23.
Okay. Yeah, then they've had so much time. It is clearly an intentional thing. It was not an accidental thing. I could easily see them sitting there and making sure that just to get it perfect, to get it right. I fully believe that that it was intentional.
Oh, wow. So here's another thing. So Evil Dead held the record for the most fake blood
Yes.
in a movie ever before this. It's
Yes.
50,000 gallons.
Yes.
I want you to take a guess at how many gallons were used in the making of Iron Blood or
I'm
Iron
gonna
Lung.
I'm gonna guess triple that.
Not triple, but it is
Double?
80,000 gallons. So
Okay.
30,000 more gallons of blood. And it's funny because there's really only a few scenes where they use that fake blood.
Yeah. Well, and the Evil Dead franchise doesn't really have a gallon like the way they used it here. It's just splattered throughout the entire film.
Oh,
Decapitations, limbs getting cut off, blood, whatever, spewing out. I mean, that's where the blood for that comes from at the very least.
yeah. So a few other notes, since we're talking about it. Um, Post-production began on April 29th of 20, oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, so he announced filming was complete in July, blah, blah. Okay, on October 23rd, October 14th of 2023, the first trailer was revealed. So 3 years ago. And then this film has been done since June of 2024. Completely wrapped,
Okay.
all production, all editing, all everything, almost over a year ago, or a little less than a year, or no, yeah, 2 years ago, almost nearly a year, 2 years ago. They wrapped everything, so it's been about a year and a half of this movie sitting and being done that they spent negotiating with theaters to try and get it in, and a production, like, that was what they spent the last, like, year and a half doing, and why it
Gotcha.
was finished in 2024 and didn't release until January of 2026.
Again, not to say that they still can't work on it between now and then. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
I'm sure they would have. I
they
not to
could have
say that they
touched it up.
wouldn't, but yeah.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a weird tangent though, but yeah, like with the audio, I
yeah,
guess, like,
I
I
would say it's
understand
intentional.
where you're coming from, and I do think that it definitely at points enhanced it. For me though, and maybe this is just like for me, I wanted to know the information that they were whispering about, and the fact that I couldn't understand it, I was like, I don't know if that's intentional or not. But like thinking about it, and the fact that you felt like it was intentional, I guess I could understand why it would feel intentional.
Yeah. Again, I but look, I at the end of the day, I'm not gonna try to put it into a different word. This film is important because again, excluding Markiplier's presence and who he is as a person, and that's again probably solely the reason why this film got a ton of garnered attention. It proved a point, and that's that you don't need Hollywood. Okay, we need funding from Hollywood, but you don't need Hollywood up the asses of every director, actor, writer in Hollywood to uh, get what they want. It's what you want, and that's what film we need to be made. Again, even talking about Dracula, like Yeah, I'm sure Hollywood got its way with that film, but at least it told a different perspective and a different story of Dracula. It's different. With Iron Lung, Markiplier came in and told a story that he really wanted to tell that had really nothing to do with the game. Very little. It was mostly a standalone story inspired from the game or whatever.
Yeah.
And so again, I just implore people to watch this film. If it's still in theaters, great. If not, try to watch it. Just support it because it is really well done. It's worth it. And
And it gives me again a lot of hope, not just for Markiplier's next production, but like for indie productions in general. I mean, YouTubers have been trying to break into this space for a while, and I'm glad that it's finally working. And I know this is like not related, but it is related. This is something that you would know nothing about. Mid to late last year, Giguk or Garn, the one of the biggest anime YouTubers of all time, someone who I look up to a lot as someone who posts anime content as well. He made his own anime last year. And it's
yeah,
very similar story with Markiplier who wanted to make something and so he made it. Yes, he had a lot of money and it was self-funded, but finally seeing these like YouTubers give the big middle finger to the normal productions like society and the way that it's worked for years, it does give me some semblance of hope. And Iron Blood or Iron Lung got butts in seats. Could
right.
it have sustained a full theatrical release for 2 months? Probably not. But it outperformed a Sam Raimi movie. And Sam Raimi's movie maybe is better, but the fact that they were able to do that is so impressive and so important to show that there are other ways other than the normal Hollywood production cycle to make something that people want to see.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
people are willing to see something that's imperfect if they care about it. And that gives me so much hope. I mean, I literally have a manga sitting on my shelf over here made by YouTuber Corey Kenshin, who's another really popular video game YouTuber. And
sure.
he decided he wanted to make a manga. And so he made a manga. And I don't know. All of these are just so inspirational and it's so important for hopefully the future of Hollywood in productions in general that I don't think it's ever gonna like change the infrastructure or whatever, but like we can all agree Hollywood fucking sucks. Like there are terrible people in Hollywood. They like to crank out movies that no one wants to see. And there are some great movies that come out of it, but there's also some ass movies that come out of it. Maybe we can start to shift away from that and start getting more of these types of productions. And I'm hoping that, like, with Markiplier being one of the biggest YouTubers in YouTube's history, he can help kind of shepherd in that new era. But
Sure.
yeah, that's kind of wrapping up thoughts on Iron Lung.
That was Iron Lung.
That
That
was Dracula
was
love story.
Dracula. And that was a complete episode of episode 49 of the Nerdy
Yep.
Nimrods podcast.
And
Big
if
week
you want
next
to,
week.
yeah,
50th episode special. Uh
it's not very special to us, but it will be special to y'all.
I will be offing myself live on the podcast. You get to see the gasoline get poured over, and I'm gonna light the match as I talk about Weathering Heights.
Yeah, we are watching the goal, and I'm gonna state this very clearly. The goal is for us to watch 5 movies for 50. Was that intentional? No, there just happens to be 5 movies releasing all on the same fucking weekend.
Correct.
Um, but to run you through what our goal is to see, obviously Carson already mentioned Wuthering Heights. You also have the new animated movie made by the same people as Spider-Verse, Goat. You have the new movie from the Pirates of the Caribbean director, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. You have Wuthering Heights. You have Crime 101, the new Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo movie.
Yep.
And you have Cold Storage, which is
Yep.
Steve the Hare Harrington movie because I can never remember his actual name.
Joe Curie.
Um, Joe Keery movie with also random weird cameo from, or not cameo, but another like big presence from Liam Neeson. I didn't know that Liam Neeson was in this movie until I was putting together stuff to make the thumbnail for next week's episode. And I sat down and I watched the trailer and I just saw Liam Neeson was like a leading character in it. And I was like, "What? I didn't know that."
Yeah.
So the goal is to watch all 5 of those movies, and it will be a hell of a long episode next week, most likely. with all 5 of those movies, but that is next week. This has been this week.
50th episode
Carson, wanna
special
take us
next
out?
week. I will take us out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, if you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow. You can find us on all streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast. You name it, we're on it. You can find us at Nerdy Nimrods. We're also on all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Brandon posts a lot of short form content themed to anime. So if you're an anime lover, get on over there and hear his thoughts on the recent anime episodes. Once again, you can find us on all stream platforms under @Nerdy Nimrods. But ladies and gentlemen, episode 49. Thank you as always, and once again as always, stay nerdy.